You know, everybody thinks they know me. The big country boy, the horseshoe necklace, the smile that never quit. That's the story, right? That's the story I let people keep. I mean, for 40 years I walked out there and I made people laugh, and that was real. That part was real. But nobody ever asked me what happened after the cameras went dark. Nobody asked what a happy man loses. Well, tonight I'm going to tell you. Okay, so let me take you back. 1985. I mean, that was the year, everything was just starting. I just come off this big singles win, my first real one, standing right there next to Hogan, and man, I remember thinking, this is it. This is the moment. You work your whole life for a feeling like that, and I finally had it. I was on top of the card. I was young. I was healthy. I was flying, and then it happened so fast. I was down at ringside. I was chasing this guy around. He was managing one of the heels, and I hit a wet spot on the floor. Just slipped, man. Didn't even see it coming, and I heard it before I felt it. That sound, and then the pain just took over everything. Next thing I know, I'm on a stretcher, and they're wheeling me out, and the whole building's just quiet, staring at me. And I'm thinking, well, Jim, that's it. That's your run. I mean, that's a real fear, not a storyline fear, a real one. And I'll tell you what, that injury, it took me out for a long stretch, months and months. And people ask me what was that like, and I don't know how to explain it except you lose your steam. That's the only way I can say it. You lose your steam, and you don't ever fully get it back. Not really. I mean, I came back. I got back in that ring eventually, but that timing, that momentum I had right before I got hurt, it was gone. Somebody else had already stepped into that spot by the time I healed up. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was all bad, because it wasn't, They needed something to keep me on the screen while I healed, so they brought in my family, Uncle Elmer and the boys, and man, we had some fun with that. I made something good out of a bad situation. I really did. I've always tried to be that kind of guy. You get knocked down, you find a way to laugh about it. You find a way to make it work for you instead of against you. But here's the part nobody really talks about. That wasn't the only time my body let me down. Years later, toward the end, my back just gave out. And this one was different, because a knee you can rehab, you can fight through it, but your back, I mean, your whole body runs through there. And I remember just sitting there one day and just knowing, not being told, knowing. That was it. That was the last one. There wasn't going to be another comeback story this time. And that's a strange thing to sit with, because in this business, your body is the first thing that ever really betrays you. It's the thing everybody expects. Everybody says, "Oh, wrestling's hard on the body," and yeah, it is. It surely is. But I'll tell you something. As hard as that was, as much as I grieved that part of myself, that big, strong hillbilly who could take a bump and bounce right back up, that wasn't the hardest thing I lost. Not even close. No, the hardest things I lost, those weren't things that happened to my body at all. All right, so this next part, this is the one that's hard for me. This is the one I don't really talk about, not even with people close to me, because when I came up in this business, they gave me a family on screen. I mean, Uncle Elmer, Cousin Luke, Cousin Junior, and look, it started as a storyline. It started as a way to keep my name out there while I was hurt, but it didn't stay a storyline. Not to me. Those men became my brothers. Real ones. I mean, we traveled together, we ate together, we laughed until we couldn't breathe some nights, doing that hillbilly thing, the dancing, the whole act. People in the crowd, they saw comedy. I saw family. And Uncle Elmer, he was one of a kind. Andre the Giant, believe it or not, he didn't care much for old Elmer. And I used to tease him about it. I'd say, "Elmer, how you know Andre don't like you?" And he'd say, "Dead serious, because he told me so." And that's a good memory, that's one I still smile about. But here's the thing. Here's the part that just, it sits heavy on me. All three of them, Elmer, Junior, Luke, they're gone now. All of them. And I don't say that for sympathy. I'm not looking for that. I think people need to understand what that means. You spend the best years of your life next to men who feel like blood, and then one by one over the years you get that call. You get that call, and each time it's like losing a piece of that stage all over again. Elmer went first years back now, and then Junior went a while after that, and that one hit me different because he was young, younger than a man ought to be for something like that. And then Luke fought hard. I mean, he fought a long fight before he went, and I remember thinking, watching him go through that, Lord, how many of us does this business take before it's done? And I'll be honest with you, there's a moment, and I don't know exactly when it hit me, but there's a moment where you realize you're the last one standing. Out of that whole family, that whole beautiful, ridiculous, wonderful bunch of hillbillies who made a stadium full of strangers laugh, I'm the only one left to remember it. And that's a strange kind of lonely, Not the kind where nobody's around. I've got people around me. I've got my kids, my grandkids. But the kind where the people who actually lived it with you, they're not there to say, hey, you remember that night anymore. I'm the only one left holding the memory. I think about that a lot more than people would guess. Up on that stage in the bright lights, I'm still smiling. I'm still that big goofy country boy for the cameras. But underneath all that, I'm carrying 3 men with me every single time I walk out there. And I don't think that's sad. Exactly. I mean, it is sad. It surely is. But it's also, it's an honor in a way. Somebody's got to remember them. Somebody's got to say their names. And I guess that's me now. That's my job. Now, the family I just told you about, that was one kind of loss. But there's another kind, the men who weren't blood, weren't even storyline family, but they shaped who I was. They opened doors for me. And losing them, that hit somewhere different entirely. Andre the Giant, I mean, how do you even talk about a man like that? We tagged together more times than I could ever count. We went up against the same bad guys night after night. And here's the thing people don't picture. He wasn't just this giant on the poster to me. He was my friend. He was somebody who'd sit with you after a show and just be a person, And when he passed, Lord, it didn't feel real. A man that big, that strong, that larger than life. You don't expect the world to just go on without him in it. But it did. It does. That's the cruel part. And then there's Roddy Piper. Now, Roddy, he's the one who first put a microphone in front of me, way back before I was even really Hillbilly Jim yet. He saw something in me before most anybody did. And years later, after all the matches and all the storylines were long done, we ended up living under the same roof for a little while, doing the show together, just a bunch of old friends being ourselves for once, no characters, no gimmicks. And I got to really know him in a way I never had before. And then not long after that, he was gone, just like that. And I think about that a lot, how close that was, how I got this gift of real friendship with him right at the end. And I almost didn't even realize what I had until it was already slipping away. Jimmy Snooker too. I lost Jimmy in there somewhere as well. And I stood up on that stage the night they put me in the Hall of Fame. And I said their names. I said Roddy's name. I said Jimmy's name. And my voice cracked. I'm not ashamed to say it. It cracked right there in front of everybody because that's supposed to be the happiest night of a man's career, That's the night they tell you made it, you're one of the greats. And all I could think about standing up there under those lights was who wasn't standing there with me. I mean, I think that's something people don't understand about getting older in this business. You keep collecting these honors, these moments where they tell you you mattered, what you did mattered, and every single time the list of people who aren't there to see it gets a little longer. It's not something anybody prepares you for. Nobody sits you down when you're young and full of fire and says, hey, someday you're going to have to celebrate the biggest night of your life with an ache in your chest, because half the folks who got you there, they won't be in the room. But you know what? I wouldn't trade it, any of it. I'd rather have loved those men and lost them than never have known them at all. That's just the honest truth of it. Andre, Roddy, Jimmy, they're part of every good thing that ever happened to me, and I carry that. I carry all of it right alongside everything else. All right, there's one more thing I got to tell you, and it's It's not really about losing a person. It's about something I never had, and coming to terms with that. I remember one night early on, we were doing this big spectacle match, and I was out there with some of the smaller boys, little fellas, you know, good men, good performers, and I watched one of the giants in the business just pick one of them up and slam him down hard in front of this massive crowd. And I remember standing there thinking, this is wrong, just wrong, deep down wrong. And nobody stopped it, and the crowd was roaring, and I just stood there. And I think about that moment more than people would guess, because it kind of taught me something about this business early. That the show goes on no matter who gets hurt doing it, no matter who gets left behind. And I guess that's part of why I never really fought for more. You know, I never became a champion, not once, not in all those years. I was out there right alongside the biggest names this business ever had. I was on the biggest stages, and I never once got to hold that belt up over my head. And people ask me, does that bother you? And I used to lie and say no. I'll be honest with you now though, yeah, it bothered me. It still does a little if I let myself sit with it too long. I mean, there was tension sometimes with the office. Times I could have pushed harder, could have made more noise, could have been the squeaky wheel, you know, the guy who complains until he gets what he wants. And I never was that guy. I chose loyalty instead. I chose to just be grateful for what I had instead of fighting for what I didn't. And I don't know to this day if that was wisdom or if that was just me being scared to rock the boat. Probably a little of both, if I'm honest. And there was a stretch, a real low stretch years later, long after I'd stopped wrestling, where I was tired. Tired of the travel, tired of showing up to these big events and feeling like a ghost of something people used to care about. I remember one particular weekend, everything went wrong. The flights, the schedule, just everything. And I told myself, that's it. I'm done. I'm not doing this again. I meant it too. I was ready to just fade out, quiet, you know, no fanfare, just gone. And then the phone rang. And it was them telling me they wanted to put me in the Hall of Fame. And I froze up. Didn't know what to say. Here I was, ready to walk away for good, thinking nobody even remembered me anymore, and they were telling me I mattered enough to go down in history. Funny how that works, huh? The lowest point of my life, and right behind it, waiting the whole time, was the highest one. So here's where I've landed after all of it. The body that broke, the family I lost one by one, the giants who left too soon, the belt I never got to hold. I used to think a man measures his life by what he won. I don't think that anymore. I think you measure it by who you loved and who loved you back, and whether people still say your name after you're gone from the room. I never got crowned, not once, but I got remembered. And I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, I think I got the better deal.